Welcome to My Money Movement, a guide to financial freedom. On today's episode, I discuss personal finances with my guest, Alexis. And at the end of this video, make sure you stay tuned because I'm going to detail a specific game plan for Alexis to get out of debt and into the life she deserves. Alexis, thank you so much for being here.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Wonderful. So if you wouldn't mind, tell me a little bit more about yourself.
My name is Alexis. I am a world traveler. Started when I was in the military. I joined when I was 17, and I was stationed in Tennessee, and then went over to Germany for about a year. Moved back to Maryland, which is where I'm from, and decided I did not want to be there anymore, and relocated to Florida. Was there for about 4 years, and decided I did not want to be there anymore. And so January of this year, I left Florida and have traveled to 20 states this year. So.
That's so cool. What was the top state?
Honestly,
your most memorable state?
I love here. I love Colorado.
Denver?
I love
Colorado?
Denver so much, but nothing
Sweet.
beats New York. Like, New York is its own portal. Yeah, New York is its own world.
That's so cool. So did you do a road trip?
I did not. So I am a house sitter, and so I pick what's most convenient. I don't like flying, but if I have to, I will. I'm more of a train girl, so I'll take the Amtrak. And as I started progressing through the journey, I realized that it's better to pick states that are right next to each other, so I can just take the train.
That's cool.
Because when I started, I was going from like Colorado to New York, and it was like it wasn't making sense. So.
That's such a cool hack.
Thank you.
I want to talk more about that because it's such a cool hack.
Thank you.
Like the fact that you are kind of building this travel itinerary and then you have the ability to stay somewhere for free?
For free.
Get out of here.
And there's also a filter where you can use their car for free, so it's really...
That's so cool. How'd you get linked up with that?
How did I get linked up with that? Okay, so back in 2021, towards the end, I was in a relationship that was very toxic, and I was like, yeah, I need to just do my thing, and I love to travel. So I actually started with a site called Nomador. It's not what I use now, but it's what I knew of at the time. Found this beautiful home in Austin, Texas for a week. Let me use their car. Beautiful. And I loved it so much. So fast forward, when it was time for me to go in January, I'm like, yeah, let me see. And Trusted House Sitters, which is what I use now, is very active. Like, you can go on and find about 5,000 listings at any given time.
Whoa.
Yeah. And not just in the States, anywhere.
That's so cool.
Yes.
Sweet. That's so sick. When we first, met, you mentioned that. I'm like, that's just such an innovative way to house hack.
And it's freedom because
It's so cool.
$1,500 for an apartment is crazy. And that's about what people pay for a studio in Tampa, which is, yeah.
It's nuts.
Yeah.
That's what people pay here. It's so much money.
But it's different because when I first moved to Tampa, I had a roommate at the time, and we were paying $1,100 for a 2-bedroom, 2-bath. So to pay $1,500 now for a studio is insane. And that was part of the reason why I was like, yeah, let's go, because I'm just not going to pay it. Mm-hmm. I don't care. It's a mess.
Well, that's great that you're thinking about life like that, because a lot of people just, okay, I got to pay it. I want to live here. I want to have these amenities. I guess I got to pay half my paycheck every month just to my rent, which is just absurd.
Well, it's how we're conditioned in society. We're programmed to think that way, that we have to do something because that's our only option. And it's not until you start thinking outside of the box a little bit and start really digging into the programming that you realize it's not true. And then for me, I've actually started meeting more people who are just like me, whether it's an RV or house sitting or being a nanny or whatever it is, unconventional ways of living, but house hacking nonetheless.
Cool. So cool. I love that for you.
Thanks.
So that kind of leads me right into the next question, which is, what are you doing for your occupation right now?
So I was working up until about mid-August for a very big company, very great company. But it was just not for me, and I quit, and I have been gig working and making money from my travel content ever since. So that's been about 2 months at the time of this recording.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And how much are you currently earning?
It varies. It very much fluctuates, but I can say, if it's okay to give specific numbers.
Sure.
Since I don't have to pay rent or utilities.
Yeah.
My monthly bills are literally about $650.
That's awesome.
And then whatever I need to get to my next state.
Yeah.
And that's pretty
That's
much
like
it.
next
So
to nothing.
I can literally figure it out.
On the low end, what are you making right now? And then on the high end, what could you be making?
Well, I do pay my bills and I do need to get to place. I would say the low end, about $950.
Cool.
High end, maybe $2,000. It really just depends on the month.
Sweet. Yeah, I mean, the cool part about your situation is you've lowered your cost of living to the point where I don't think it could get any lower, which is pretty cool.
Honestly, no, definitely could, because the majority of that is credit card debt or credit card.
So you included your payments
Oh, yeah.
in that. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I wasn't involving that at all because, yes, obviously you have some debt, but you're working on it.
Yeah.
And tell me a little bit more kind of where you started. When did you start accruing this debt?
Probably the same age that most of us do if you're not financially savvy, which is about 19. Yeah. So
pretty much as soon as they started
Yeah.
mailing the credit card information.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
I'll fill this out.
pretty much in the Black community, we're taught to fear credit cards or look at it as free money. And for me, it was a little bit of both. And after I left the military so young, I was about 20 when I left. I still didn't know much about money, and I didn't have a set structure. I was coming from Germany. So I had to find a place to stay, get a car, just the whole kind of setup. And so that's where a lot of my credit card debt came from that 7 years later I'm still paying off. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And remind me, how much debt did you have at the beginning of your journey?
At the beginning of my, so right before the pandemic started, I had $32,000 worth of debt. And I was, I think, 24. Yeah, 24 at the time, 23. And I realized that I did not want to live this way anymore. I wanted debt freedom very badly. And I since got down to 18,000. It was a little bit less than that, but we're recovering. So, you know.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
It's a great
Yes.
step.
It's even just that half feels amazing, honestly, you know, because you see how people live, and being paycheck to paycheck is not the way to live. So
And the cool part about where you're at today is you're already on this journey. Most of the people I talk to haven't even started.
Yeah.
And you've got a lot of things in place, which I'm excited to talk to you about, that other people don't. And what has been, you know, kind of like one of the big things that's helped you stay on track?
you have to have a why with anything that you do, whether it's debt freedom or a certain career goal or love or whatever it is for you. You have to have a why of why you're doing that thing, right? And for me, that was, like I just said, debt freedom. So I want that, and I want it very soon. So, yeah.
Wonderful. Well, I want that for you too. And I already know you're going to get there.
Thank you.
It's just going to be a matter of
when.
how long it takes. Yeah. And I want to ask you the next question, which is, what are some of your financial goals? So, like, when do you want to be debt free?
I would like to become debt free before I'm 30.
Cool. So by 2025?
I am about to be 27 in December. So I have some time,
Congratulations. Yeah.
but, you know, my goal was to be out of a 9-to-5 by 2025, and that came sooner. So debt freedom should come just as soon.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
great. And you mentioned when we met initially, you also wanted to potentially own your own business.
Yeah.
Is that still kind of the dream?
Of course. So essentially, I want to set myself up so that I have a business that is providing me with passive income eventually, so that I can focus on what I actually want to do, which is travel, content creation, things of that nature, and ultimately retreats. And I want to combine that love of travel with the healing that I was kind of speaking on earlier. And so having a business in place prior to all of that would help, so that I don't have to feel like I have to be salesy with my retreats and anything else that I aspire to do later. It can just be natural and flowing because I already have that set income in place to take care of my immediate needs.
That's great. I mean, you're thinking about everything the right way.
Thank you.
And again, you're already leaps and bounds ahead.
Thank you.
Of most people.
It doesn't feel that way sometimes because, sorry, I have something in my eye. It doesn't feel that way sometimes because for multiple reasons, mainly social media, you can see people a third of your age making way more money than you. And sometimes it feels that you're hustling and trying to reach the goal so much that it's never going to come. And I know that's not true. It's just, sometimes it does feel that way, But I appreciate you for reminding me. Thank you.
Yeah. It is such an easy trap to fall into, comparing yourself to other people, especially on social media.
Especially when it comes to lifestyle and money.
You don't know what their actual situation looks like. Because I have heard stories of people who have accrued insane amounts of debt, flashing a lifestyle that they don't actually own. And at the end of the day, you just got to own your life and know that what you're working towards is what you want to build, and just stop comparing yourself to other people.
That is so true. It's so true. It's also a bit of the age game, like certain things that you can get away with by society standards and by your own standards when you're in your 20s is not the same things that you can get away with in your 30s and older. And not only that, you don't want to get away with it. Like, I don't want to still be doing gig work and trying to figure it out when I'm in my 30s. That's a different time. That's more building what I've already started growing in my 20s.
That's great.
That was said in reverse. Growing what I started building in my 20s.
I know what you meant.
Yeah.
That's great. So what would financial freedom mean to you?
Financial freedom. I just journaled about this. That's so funny.
Cool.
I wish I had it. But basically, it means to me not having to worry about money in any given situation, whether that is bills or just wanting to go to Bali tomorrow, or if I'm out with a friend, being able to treat them. It's not just about me. It's about what I can do and give to others so that we all can achieve this goal,
That's cool. I want that for you.
Thank you.
I see that for you.
Thank you.
I love what you said about being able to treat other people. Because I enjoy doing that too. It's like if you can pay for someone's coffee or you can buy someone's dinner, it makes you feel really good.
It makes you feel good, and the way that their face lights up when you just have a small human gesture of kindness is cool. I love it. I love it. And I think that's what we're lacking in the world. It's just some kindness and compassion for each other. But that's a different podcast.
Yeah. I would agree with you. I mean, there are a lot of people that I run into day to day that are in a terrible mood. Mm-hmm. And for a lot of people, it stems from their financial troubles that they're not willing to face. But you are here today facing that head on. And I am just thrilled to be able to outline this plan for you at the end of this episode because, again, you're leaps and bounds ahead of most people. And you should feel really good about that.
Thank you.
And I hope that you do. And again, I hope you stop comparing yourself to other people. And at some point, people are going to start comparing themselves to you.
Isn't that a wild concept?
And you should think about that when you're portraying yourself on social media. Is what do you want that person to understand? And you are going to be able to cast a wide shadow in the sense that people are going to be looking up to you. And you have an opportunity to take the lessons you've learned to help other people. And I hope you're able to do that.
We're going to breathe that in. I
breathe
like
it
the way
in.
that sounds.
Yeah, that's cool. Sweet. So I love your answer. I mean, you have a lot of passion for what you do and what you want to build. You've clearly thought about that, which for some people they haven't. So again, you're ahead of the curve. But let's talk about your debt. So we had almost 40,000. Now you only have 18,000 something.
Something, right. Question mark.
Which is better than I had written down 19. So that's even better. So let's break it down. So you have student loans, $4,500.
Correct.
Remind me, where did you study?
I went to UMGC, And I got my bachelor's in forensics.
Sweet. And you have that degree. No one can take that away from you. That's knowledge gained, experience gained.
Yes.
Awesome. And then the hefty portion, which is left to pay, is credit cards.
Split amongst two.
2 credit cards, and it totals approximately $14,000.
Correct. So one has the majority of it. The rest has about $2,800.
And you've had that balance accrued for several years, correct?
It feels like it never goes away.
Well, the problem is the interest rate's jacked up so high that it almost doesn't ever go away.
Yes.
Unless you make a conscious effort to really attack it.
Right. Which is, yeah.
And that's the hard part about credit cards is it's easy to use them. It's hard to pay them off. And the first time you miss a payment, no matter how many points you got for the credit card, it negates it because you've now spent 30% on whatever the balance was. Like, they're a dangerous game.
Well, I rebuke that. I don't know anything about that. I pay my credit cards on time for that reason. I don't have time. But yes, actually, when I first started, I had a PayPal credit card.
Yeah.
So that's where most of that bulk that I told you about earlier came from. So, I was able to hustle, work a lot of hours to get that paid off. And so to have another balance with another credit card is like, how did I do it the first time?
Yeah. It's a slippery slope, but in the future, hopefully you're able to keep yourself from using them. Because it doesn't look like you're building a balance anymore, correct?
No.
Which is great. So we're focused on paying it off. I want that balance to be 0 as soon as possible.
Yes.
Because even if you're making your payments on time every month, you're still accruing interest. And that payment just gets further and further down the road.
Yeah.
And you don't need that. It's not that much money.
Yeah.
Like it is a lot when you look at it, but it's not.
It's not.
It's not that much money.
It's not at all.
Yeah. The average debt in the United States is over $40,000.
Wow. I didn't know that.
You only got 20. Less than 20. 18.
We can make it happen.
Yeah, you can make it happen. Cool. So how much money are you earning right now? We just talked about somewhere between $950 and $2K. So I kind of built the plan for you off of some of that knowledge. And the other thing I need to know, which you already mentioned, was kind of how much your living expenses are, which is $650, which is way lower than I would have thought.
Just to clarify, living expenses are free because of the house sitting. It's the $650 is literally just the bills that I have monthly.
And does that include the food that you eat?
That does not include food.
How much food are you eating?
Way too much. I'm a foodie. That's where I would say my biggest expense is food.
Sure.
Yeah.
So I kind of built the plan for you off of your total expenses being $1,100 a month.
I think that's
which would mean
reasonable.
You have $650 for all of the bills, and then you would have another, $500 roughly for
travel,
everything
food,
else.
And
yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
And that's not a lot of money.
I know.
Like, you got to be savvy with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's okay. Because, again, you're just at this chapter in your life where you're going to be at 6 months from now, a year from now. You're on your way. But if you don't take these things head on and know all these numbers, you're just going to be stuck. And then we'll talk a year from now and you'll still be stuck. So the big thing is just understanding these numbers so that you can build out a financial plan. And the plan that I built out for you is just one version of it. Like, there are so many different ways you can go about this, but having a vision and a plan helps you execute versus not having one and just going day to day wondering what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So I want that for you. The next thing I wanted to look at was your spending history, which what you sent me was a little challenging because it looks like you went on a couple big trips and spent a lot of money, which is okay. But I wanted to ask you, did you, when you went on these trips, do you have a budget that you try to stay within when you're doing specific trips?
Okay. So I'm a spiritual girly, and it's a very yes and no, because a part of me is like, don't look at money in a limiting manner, which means that it'll never come back and I have to be afraid of it. So that does turn into me being a little more extravagant, mainly with the food. And if I wanted to go shopping. But in the same token, also having in the back of my head, hey, 1100 does need to be acquired. So it's a little bit of both. And then when I am feeling strapped, I will have a budget. But when I'm living life and in my hippie mode, I'm like, the budget, it'll figure itself.
Free bird.
Like, I know I'm taken care of regardless. I'm going to get to where I need to be. But sometimes it is that how. So it's a little bit of both, you know?
So,
Balance.
no, we don't.
No. No.
Part of this process is ripping off some of those Band-Aids because I need you to realize some of the mistakes you're making that can easily be corrected.
No, you're right. You're right.
And the big one that I noticed was just, it seemed like there was no real plan of how much money you wanted to spend every day. How much money do you want to apply to food or activities? And that's okay. Like, that is a fun way to go about it. But until you get this debt paid off, I want you to think about things differently. I want you to be really mindful of where every dollar goes. And part of that is going to be building a budget for your personal life and building a budget for what you want to do when you travel. And then figuring out ways that it all fits together. And one of the big things that stood out to me is you were charged $100 in overdraft protection.
Yes.
What is that?
So basically, it's my bank allowing me to be in a negative balance. And when you go over that balance, every time you do so, you're charged $20 of overdraft protection.
Interesting. What's weird to me is that does make sense now that I'm looking at it. Because I'm like, your balance isn't negative, but it is. Got it. What's weird is, so you got like 3 of them back to back because you had you had like a $14 purchase and then a $17 purchase, and that $30 purchase ended up costing you $100 with those stupid fees. So how can we avoid those?
Yeah, definitely. I'm in a different place where, we're not going to do that.
Great. Part of it's just knowing where your balance is at.
Yeah.
Do you look at your statements
I do.
frequently?
I do often. It's more of a, if I'm not consciously aware of when I would have actively spent that day and it's pending, then it looks like I have more than I actually have. And then that's when the fees come in. Usually that's how that goes.
I can see that. And it's a slippery slope because it's like, these 2 little purchases cost you a lot of money. Yeah. And they have this overdraft protection, which is so great, but it's not. Like, they're charging you so much money to have that service. Yeah. And I hope that you never use that again.
Yeah. You know what? I think I will turn that off. Thank you.
Like, turn it off. Like, if you don't have the money, don't use it.
Just don't spend it.
Don't spend it, because the $14 purchase cost you $34. It doesn't make any sense. Yeah. You don't need it. Yeah. And part of it's just going to be, you're at a mindset right now where you are capable of doing these things, and it's just going to be mindfulness in creating a budget, 1, and then 2, reviewing this weekly until you're at a place where you have a savings built up, you have a buffer built up, where you don't have to be as mindful daily. Yeah. But like, these are just brutal fees that you should never have to pay. And it's something that I call stupid tax. And it's not meant to be offensive to you. This is just dumb. You spent $100 on overdraft fees.
No, you know what? I love that you said it just the way that you said it, because, it is dumb.
Everyone that I talk to pays stupid tax. I've paid thousands and thousands of dollars of stupid tax. So I speak from a position of understanding, because these are just mistakes you've made. You can only learn from the things that you've done. And that's a big one that you can take head on tomorrow. Turn that off, or don't use money you don't have. And then 2, again, this was a tough statement to analyze because it was like 2 big trips. It didn't really give me an understanding of how you would live your life when you're kind of in a stable position. But just knowing your total expenses are so low, it's just refreshing to hear. But again, to reemphasize, there needs to be a little bit more thought put into where we're spending money. And having a plan will set you up for success.
Okay.
And one of the exercises that I recommend people doing is if you have highlighters, which the two highlighters I had are missing, but essentially you take a yellow colored highlighter and then an orange or a pink highlighter. And what you do is you look at your expenses and the essential purchases you highlight in yellow, and then anything that wasn't essential, you hit it with an orange or a pink. And it's a visual representation of where your money's going, because typically what you'll find is there's going to be a lot of pink.
Okay.
And there's not going to be a lot of yellow.
Okay.
And if you do that month over month, you should start to see and be excited to see more yellow versus pink.
So here's a little bit of where what I was trying to clarify for myself even to this day. So some of those purchases also tie into the travel content. You know, if you're going to a new place, you want to highlight the things that there are to do there. So it's kind of been tricky finding the balance between what is content worthy and what is just, hey, we can wait on that maybe another time.
That's great. And I'm not telling you to not do that stuff. I just want you to know that, okay, I have $500 on this trip, and then plan out where are the places I can go that fit into $500, and then build your content around that budget versus doing the content and then finding out, oh, I went into overdraft. Because that's what I don't want for you. It's just, how can you pre-plan some of your expenses so that you don't end up in the hole?
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Cool. You can do it. Super attainable for you. And have you used a budget planner before?
I did. I'm more of a pen and paper girl.
That's great.
It's really the thought, like you said.
That's how I do it.
Yeah.
You want to go through one?
I do.
Cool. So this budget planner is available on mymoneymovement.com. It's a free resource. It's very simple. And we're going to fill one out.
Okay.
So at the very top of the budget planner is going to be your budget goals.
Okay.
So if we're budgeting for November, what is your goal? Let's say it's $500 towards credit cards. And then in the income section, you're going to go and list all of the places you're making money right now.
Okay.
And we're just going to put an estimate of how much income that's going to bring you.
Okay. So I listed my gig work. I have a gig as well with The Yard. It's a milkshake bar, which is really cool.
And then your next bucket is going to be fixed expenses.
Okay.
Which are things that you have to pay every month, rain or shine. If you move to Florida or you move to Colorado, you have to pay these expenses.
Okay. Yes.
And then the other expenses portion, it's going to be, for example, how much money did you spend on food? That's a great bucket. How much money did you spend on entertainment or rideshare, scooters, like however you get around? That would be a bucket. And those don't have to be as specific as, for example, your income, but make sure everything's accounted for. And then what you're going to do is you already did your totals, which is great. So you're just going to transfer those now into the bottom section. So you're going to write the income, that number down at the bottom. So you actually didn't go into debt. So I'm going to put a little plus there. And this is actually going to be money that you saved.
Okay. Gotcha.
So like this is your goal. Your goal is to not only not go into debt, but you're actually going to save $725.
Gotcha.
And then after the end of the month, you're going to go back and you're going to go, is this how much I earned? Great. Did I spend on budget? Maybe I didn't. Maybe I overspent. That's okay. You're going to hopefully save these, and then month over month, you're going to see which months you were able to save money, which months you were able or didn't save money and went into further debt.
Hit goal.
Right. Gotcha. Exactly.
Okay.
But yeah, it's just a simple tool that kind of helps visualize some of the things that are happening. And I would recommend putting a calendar lock on your calendar of when you're going to do this.
Okay. Every month. Okay.
Yeah. And for some people just starting out, it could be a weekly exercise. just to get you in the habit of paying attention to your finances. And it's just about building your plan and having it so that you know you're on track. And you know, let's say, for example, this week I'm traveling to, where are you going next?
Nevada.
Cool. So this week I'm going to Nevada. Here is the list of attractions I know I want to create content around. Do some research in how much it's going to cost you to do those attractions, and then decide if, okay, can I do all of this and does it fit into my budget? Because I know I have $1,200 that I'm earning this month, and I know I have to pay these fixed expenses. So it's just adding a line item in there for your content creation so that when you're on site that week, you have that number that you can refer back to. And you could keep like a notes app in your phone that has the amount of money that you want to spend that week. Mm-hmm. And then every time you make a purchase, like physically write it in your notes app so that you don't overdraft on your account. But it's going to take a little work.
Yeah, definitely.
But you definitely have it in you. Yeah. So hopefully that was helpful.
That was helpful. Thank you.
Cool.
Thank you. Especially the stupid tax. That was very, yeah. I'm like, yeah, why am I?
Right? Yeah, you don't need to pay that anymore. I think eventually I'm going to make a hat that just says stupid tax because it comes up in every episode.
Let me know when it's available.
Yeah, right on. Cool. So I want to next detail out your plan. So I have a question for you. How much money do you think you need to earn to be debt-free in 1 year?
Ooh, my kind of question. Debt-free in 1 year. Honestly, like just a regular salary because I'm so low.
So what is that? What is a regular salary?
So to be clear, debt-free in 1 year while still living my regular life. Is that correct?
Yeah, the life you have right now.
I would say 40 to 50,000. Very, yeah.
Spot on. 40K.
Yeah.
So attainable.
Yeah, I know.
And you're here talking about how you want to have it paid off by 2025, which is 2 years from now, but you can totally do it in a year.
Yeah.
If you set your mind to it.
You're right.
And if you again have your plan written out, you then can see it's like so attainable.
Yeah.
So the big thing is 40K, which is $32,262 after taxes. And during your debt payoff section, I'll tell you exactly how that flows into paying off that debt. But what I really want you to think about, because you've already house hacked, you've lowered your cost of living so low, which is fantastic. Like, you're a testament to what is attainable. You know, some people that I talk to think that they can't get it lower than $2,000. You're living proof it can be done not only lower than $2,000, but under $1,000, which is awesome. So I think you have an opportunity in front of you because do you have a lot of free time?
Yes. Yes and no.
Yeah. Yes and no.
Depending.
Are you open to remote work?
I am open to remote work.
Have you put any applications out or thought about what you're good at that could be applicable to a remote job?
So it's really more about finding a gig or contract work because I escaped the 9-to-5 for a reason. So it's kind of that catch-22 of needing money, but also not wanting to be a slave to someone's corporate job.
Yeah.
But I actually did find a pretty good fit in sales, believe it or not.
I think you'd be great at sales.
Thank you. Yeah. Some kind of gig sales commission work, that would be perfect from a person that understands it perfectly. So.
Yeah. I think you'd be exceptional. And there are a lot of teams who would love to have you on their sales team. And I agree, and I live that I don't want to be working for someone else your entire career. But right now you're in debt, and you can't fully live the life you want until you put that behind you. And it may involve getting either a part-time remote position or sucking it up and getting a full-time remote position for a year, 12 months, and then all this debt will be paid off. You'll probably have savings in your account that you can then build your brand off of. And that just is going to launch you.
So where I'm at with it right now is it is November of 2023. And so come January of next year, if content is not where I would like it to be as far as brand deals and things of that nature, and the business that I'm currently building is not where I need for it to be income generating wise, I will suck it up. But I am going to give myself the grace and time to see it, you know.
I love that for you. And I'm glad that you're chasing your goals and your dreams. I want that for everyone.
Thank you.
And you absolutely can do this.
Thank you.
It just may not happen as quickly as you want it to. And I'm definitely not telling you to stop the content. I think that is, the gig economy is huge. I forget the stat, but it's billions of dollars, and it's only growing, and it's expected to double in the next 10 years.
Yeah.
Put time there. But right now, I think you do have some free time that, could be applied to just making money, getting the soul sucked out of you just so you can pay your debt.
We will see. We will see. January is the goal.
Cool. I hope that you don't have to, but I want you to be really mindful that that's an option for you. You have a degree. You're very intelligent. Your communication style is fantastic for someone who wants to be in sales. That's a great backup plan for you. And I outlined it. So like the minimum wage in Denver is $17.29. So to earn $40,000, you have to work roughly 6.5 hours every day, or 44 hours a week.
Okay.
Which
pretty much the standard.
Super attainable. Yeah. I mean, some people that I talk to are working over 100 hours to try to pay off their debt.
Yeah.
So it's attainable. If you could get a job that pays $20 an hour, that's 5.7 hours a day, or 38 hours a week. If you could get to $30 an hour, which with your background, I think is something that you could attain, you're only working 3.6 hours a day, or 25 hours a week, which is a part-time job.
I could do that. I could do a part-time job.
You spend 25 hours working on this soul-sucking job, and then you spend the other 80 hours of your time on your content and building the life that you want.
No, you're right.
You can have both.
You're right.
Best of both worlds.
Best of both worlds. You're right.
And as someone who is also a content creator, I know how struggling the startup phase is, because you start from nothing. It's a huge milestone just to get the first 10 people to follow your account, let alone get your first brand deal.
And it's definitely a job in itself. Like, it does require time, attention, energy, and growth, because if you want to grow, you have to study what other people are doing, like how did they get to where they want to be. So
you have all the potential in front of you, and I'm just trying to outline, there are some things, different ways to think about it, where you don't have to give up.
It's not anything that I haven't thought of. It really is just the ego and, what is right for me, the time that I said. But you're right. If it does boil down to it, and January is not how I want it to be, we will be getting a job.
Yeah. And again, I don't want you to quit the brand. I don't want you to quit the vision that you have for your future. I want you to hustle on that very hard. But until you get that debt paid off, there's just this looming gremlin on your shoulder that's just 18,000. 18,000. And I want you to be able to,
how it feels.
I want you to go to sleep at night when you paid that last payment and feel the relief that people who are financially free feel. Because it is a huge weight off your shoulders.
Yes, I know it is.
Yeah. And you're going to get there. And that's the plan for 1 year. You don't have to do it in a year, but you could if you want, if you set your mind to it.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Number 2, minimize living expenses, and you have to start budgeting. You just have to.
Yeah.
If you want to be on a plan. And 2, it's great exercise to get into, because as your business grows, you're going to have a lot more incoming and outgoing expenses that it'll be great to have that practice. And if you are already instilling the mindfulness in your personal life, that's going to translate into your business, and you're not going to find yourself in a hole with your business because you've already have all these, again, habits in place.
No, that's correct. You're right.
Cool. So I wrote, you must begin to start a habit of completing a monthly budget planner. This will keep you aligned to your financial goals and set you up for a lifetime of financial health. And 2, again, we talked about this, but budget for your traveling and have a game plan as soon as you either get on the plane or you're like starting that next chapter. You have a game plan before you leave of how much money this trip is going to cost you and where you're going to spend it.
Yeah.
That way you can stay on track.
Yeah.
And you don't spend $100 on overdraft fees.
Yes.
On accident. It happens. We just pay that stupid tax and we move on.
Yeah.
Because it's just a lesson that we've learned. And it wasn't even that expensive. Again, I've paid thousands. So number 3, the debt payoff. So you currently have roughly $18,000 of debt, and your cost of living is under $1,100 a month. So if you can maintain your cost of living and you can build an income level to $40K, which we've kind of proven is attainable for you, you can pay off your debt in 1 year. $40,000 after taxes is $32,262 or $2,688 a month, meaning if your cost of living stays at $1,100, you will have an additional $1,588 per month to pay your debts. And if you paid $1,588 per month for 12 months, you will have paid $19,000 towards your debt.
Wow. Wow.
And I'm going to give you this so you don't have to remember that. It's
okay.
A mouthful. It's hard to even just read. But I wanted it to be very specific because it's so attainable for you.
Yeah, seeing it, hearing it is like, yeah, that actually sounds really easy, acquirable.
Yeah. The hard part about this is going to be as you start, you're already here doing it.
Yeah.
You did the hard part. You took the first step. The hard part about this is going to be as you start increasing your income and as you start building a savings and you start seeing that money in your bank account, you got to be careful because you're going to want to spend it.
Yeah.
And there's going to be a lot of things that you'll tell yourself you need to spend it on. And that's what I want you to avoid.
Yeah.
And just be really mindful throughout this process of what the goal is.
Yeah.
And that's why you write it on the budget planner every month. It's like, this is the goal because it's going to be hard. The more money you start making, the more money you're going to want to spend. But if you can just grip down for 12 months and stay at your current living expenses, but build this income, your life's going to change.
Yeah.
And you're going to hit month 12. You're going to pay off all your debt. And then the fun happens. That's when you can really start focusing on what you want to do because you're doing so many things the right way. I hope this is just like the little nudge that you needed to put it in action.
It was. Thank you.
You've already paid off almost $20,000 of debt.
But it is hard, like you said, which is why it got very stagnant for a long time. It is hard when you work very hard to pay off this thing, this monster, right? Mm-hmm. And like, man, I deserve to treat myself. And then it's just a slippery slope from there.
Yeah. And a big thing a lot of people fall into is comparing themselves to other people.
Yeah.
And you just got to remember that everyone's on their own journey.
Yeah.
You're a product of the experiences you've had in your life. Mm-hmm. And now you're taking actionable steps to remedy the debt situation and move into financial freedom and build a business. And you had some awesome like goals that you want to achieve, with your brand. I don't know. Sorry. You don't want to worry. You want to be able to treat other people. All of the things that you want to achieve financially are all almost about helping other people, which is so cool. And I want you to recognize that because not a lot of people have that mindset. That's a gift that you give to people that surround you in the platform that you're building. Like, I know that people are seeing that as well, which is such a gift. And I'm just really thankful that you're willing to take this head on and you're willing to be vulnerable and talk about your finances because it's such a difficult situation. But there are so many people who are in the same position as you who just need someone to help them.
Yeah.
And you're that light showing them it is possible.
It's possible, y'all.
So I'm just so happy you're here.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
And the last question I have for you is, what are you willing to sacrifice to achieve financial freedom?
The job. Working for someone else, definitely.
Cool.
And sacrifice living in the U.S., actually. Maybe going somewhere that is a lot easier to live, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can live in Bali pretty affordably.
So I'm looking
Or
at
Thailand
Costa
for like
Rica.
$10.
Yeah, somewhere like that where it's still very beautiful, spacious. But I've been eyeing Costa Rica, and I've looked at an apartment, very beautiful, for about $450.
That's cool. Yeah. I love your mindset. I love that you're willing to sacrifice, because that's what it's going to come down to.
Yeah.
Is what are you willing to give up today so that tomorrow you have the life that you want?
Yeah.
And it all started today.
Yeah, it started today.
Yeah. I mean, I say this is the first step for a lot of people, but for you, this is like you've already climbed the mountain.
It definitely, this conversation reignited that want in me, because it came at the perfect time. Honestly, it was already something that I was thinking about heavily. And when this opportunity came, it was just perfectly aligned. So thank you for reigniting that
Awesome.
want.
That's my goal. That's my goal for you. And Alexis, by being here today, you have taken leaps and bounds towards your financial future and becoming financially free. And you are taking ownership of your finances. And in doing so, I am confident you will succeed. You deserve to build the life that you want for you and your future. And I'm thrilled to welcome you to my growing family of money movers.
Yay! I'm a money mover. I love that.
Absolutely. And I would love to chat again in at least like 6 months. I'd love to check in. If you need any help with budgeting or any other resources, like utilize me. I'm here to help. That's my goal for this, is that, yes, I want people at home to be able to see kind of your experiences and learn from it. But at the end of the day, I just want you to become financially independent and free, and you have the capabilities.
Thank you. Yes.
So yeah, let me know if I can
love
help
to
out.
regroup in 6 months and stay in touch.
Wonderful. Hopefully it's remote and you're in.
Oh, it'll definitely be remote.
Yeah,
Not even a question.
You're somewhere warm and tropical. That sounds awesome. Cool. So I'm going to finish up with this segment, but if you're struggling with debt and need help, please subscribe to My Money Movement, a guide to financial freedom. We discuss financial tips, tricks, and personal finance reviews. And I want you to become a money mover like Alexis. So please visit www.mymoneymovement.com for free resources, including the free budget planner, as well as other helpful tips to get out of debt and into the life you want.